friends, kids, parents of kids. I've been at this game for a long time, and I can tell you that there's one major mistake that people often play in the Sicilian because they forget they're not playing e4, e5. What do I mean by that? Well, instead of looking at the Sicilian, let's go back and talk about what happens after e4, e5. A lot of you play knight f3, totally fine, knight c6, and then the bishop lands on c4, either now or later in the game, and of course I'm not here to tell you that that is wrong. It's a great place for the bishop because it aims at black's weak spot, it aims at the center, and it's just it's a good move. However, if we go back, this is not a normal pizza, this is a Sicilian slice, and when black plays the move c5 in this position, I do not want you putting your bishop on c4 pretty much ever. Now, technically speaking, there is an opening where you do that. However, it's rather advanced, it's risky, it requires 1,000 hours of study, and you're too busy. So after knight f3, which is fine, and knight c6, what I want you to do in this position is either play d4, that's the aggressive move. You can even play c3 to back up d4. You could play knight c3. You could even put the bishop on the square b5, but don't put it on c4. That's my statement for you today. If you can only remember one thing, in the Sicilian, your bishop pretty much never belongs on c4. Here's the problem. Black has not committed his or her e-pawn. So instead of playing the move e5, which would just give you a giant outpost, doesn't make much sense to me, black will often play e6, and now you are biting on rock, as we say. How is this bishop ever going to be able to capture the pawn? I have no idea. It's being guarded by two other pawns, and your bishop, frankly, is a target. Black is already preparing to play the move d5, and somehow that gives black control of the center. That should not happen. White gets the first move. Black should not be controlling the center so easily. Also, as a backup plan, black sometimes plays a6 with the idea of b5. Long story short, your bishop is a target, it's a liability, you have to babysit it, whatever metaphor you want to use. In fact, in this position, let's just go through a trap that black can already go for. Black is threatening this move d5, as I said, and even if the pawns trade, black has control of the center. So white might play knight c3. Now black cannot play d5 because you, dear internet viewer, can count to 3. There's 1, 2, there's 3 attackers, and I only count 1, 2 pieces defending, so there will be a loss of a pawn. But black can prepare the move d5 by playing this move knight f6. Now white has a couple of options here. White can just give up the ghost and allow d5. For example, white could, I don't know, castle the king. But after castles, then black just plays d5. Black gets complete control of the center, and black doesn't even really have to worry that the e-file opens up. Yeah, it's a check, but the bishop just blocks. Black will castle on the next move, and both of these pawns are going to be super annoying coming down the board, attacking white's pieces. Black is for choice in this position. Now, if we go back, white might try one last idea to prevent this move pawn to d5. White might try e5, but I regard this as a mistake because now black has a trap to win this pawn. Black can actually play the move knight to g4 with a double attack on the pawn. Now, pawn to d4 doesn't really save this pawn because black will just snap that pawn off the board and then will collect the e-pawn on the next turn. For example, d4, black takes, white takes back with the knight, and I know it's a discovered attack, but black fixes all of his problems in one move by playing knight on g takes e5. Black has 2 center pawns, white has 0, white is not better, white is worse. But there is one last try for white after knight to g4. White could play queen to e2, which defends this pawn a second time. However, black can now attack it a third time. Yeah, black could play a move like d6 and make a trade and get the bishop out, but I'm greedy. If I'm black, I want that pawn. In fact, let's just do a little switcheroo. Bang. Oh, I've got tricks. Oh, yeah. Suddenly we're playing black. Black can win the pawn by playing queen to c7 with a triple attack on this pawn, and there is no good way for white to guard that pawn a third time. White is just going to lose the pawn. Now, white could try knight to b5, and it does look a little bit weird for you to bury your queen on b8, but you're totally fine. This knight is not going to enter your territory. Black is still threatening this pawn 3 times, and black can very easily play the no parking sign, pawn to a6. In fact, when the knight runs away, black is already ready to play b5. That bishop is running out of squares. Don't forget, the pawn on e5 is still lost. I cannot name a single good feature in this position for white. Black is just much, much better. So there you go. If you are white in the Sicilian, don't put your bishop on c4. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay? Don't come back to me and tell me, oh, but there's just one exception, there's just one opening. No. No, don't do it. Okay. And if you're black and your opponent does play bishop c4 and you want the best Sicilian slice ever, play pawn to e6 because you're going to end up blocking that bishop's power. You're going to end up attacking the bishop, and then you're going to thank me a really nice note for helping you win a chess game right out of the opening.